Hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel where we talk about stuff. In I guess what could be considered unsurprising news, it's been revealed, or we know, that other companies have been entering the cryptocurrency Bitcoin ETF space. You name it, it's there. We've been getting news, for years now. It's been like 6 or 7 plus years of a daily, these amount of companies and institutions, single people, small mom and pop shops, if you will, who've been buying up Bitcoin. The news back then was that a company bought 50 Bitcoin, or a company was thinking of getting into the space, and we'd see quite a lot of like movement in the cryptocurrency market, but also just discussion wise. I think we've been here for a while now, where everyone reacts relatively blasé to a lot of the news that's being released and that has already been released, especially when we keep hearing these large amounts of allocations into the Bitcoin space. I think it's just the way that things are. I can't complain. I can't rant about it. I remember being surprised even around January and February, seeing the amount of money that was flowing into the market. Even around like mid to end March, early April, when prices were going sideways, prices were going down, we were still receiving a tremendous amount of news. A lot of the negative news was that the inflows into the ETFs wasn't 800 million. It was simply maybe 120 million. I think there was one day when it was like 47 million, which I think you need over $30 million to accumulate the entire daily supply of Bitcoin being mined, and still almost nothing. So we went over that number and people just seemingly didn't care. If you've been following this channel for a while, for a number of years, even just, I want to say 3 months, you know that daily we continuously get like really significant, crazy news. And once again, I'm trying not to rant. I'm trying not to go crazy. It's very exhausting to do it all the time, to feel like the crazy person in the room who is trying to tell everyone that water is wet and like walls are solid, and these like very basic kind of things. The amount of Bitcoin that people think is on the market is not actually there. The amount of Satoshis that people think that they will have in the future is also one gigantic illusion, especially compared to everything that we've been hearing in the news and the current rate of accumulations. A lot of people online have been trying to find, or have found, information about companies who have been buying Bitcoin and the amount of Bitcoin that they've been buying, and how many shares of these ETFs that they have, and how much more accumulation is currently taking place. So a lot of days we will have news that the inflows to the ETFs are lower or not as significantly sparkly and fantastic as they were a couple of months ago. But it's still an egregious amount of Bitcoin that's being taken off of the markets. As we also just recently went over, for those of you who missed it, in the first week of June, and they were doing it by trading sessions, so that's Monday through Friday, the ETF issuers just within the United States alone, just the United States, because there are, as we know, I think 21 other ETFs around the planet. Everyone keeps focusing on the US ones. In 1 week, they accumulated 2 months worth of Bitcoin in 5 days. Also, the market doesn't really react, but everyone has their own reasoning as to why everything is currently happening. But I still am expecting a gigantic jump forward in price. I'm still expecting sometime this cycle. I don't know when, but I think if we don't get to at least a $300,000 Bitcoin next year, then something has gone terribly wrong, because this level of accumulation, we should, by all accounts, be rising by around 10 to 15% per week, at least in price. The news now, I heard of this company before, but I don't really know what this company is. A company by the name of Booth, and then Bay, recently disclosed their financial positions to the US SEC. discussing how much money they had in Bitcoin. We've seen this news from a number of companies within the United States, within Canada, a lot of people who have allocations into ETFs in the United States. And also we had news recently as well with banks coming forward and announcing how much money they actually have in Bitcoin. Boothbay announced that they are holding positions in BlackRock, Fidelity, Grayscale, Common, and also in Bitwise's Bitcoin ETF as well. Bitwise is a name that we don't normally hear. Grayscale, surprisingly, a lot of people still have an enormous amount of Bitcoin with Grayscale, and Grayscale even, I think most days there is no outflow and there actually is an inflow. People are still using them. Boothbay reported that they are holding 3.7 million shares of BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF. Just with BlackRock alone, and if you can tell me that you've heard of Boothbay, golf clap. For everyone else who hasn't, right? Also, question mark. They announced that they're holding these 3.7 million shares just with BlackRock. With BlackRock alone, they're holding $149 million worth of Bitcoin. So we get news quite often, daily, I would know, it's definitely daily, where we hear that a company has bought Bitcoin, and sometimes it's like $15 million worth of Bitcoin, or maybe they're holding a couple hundred Bitcoin, which also is quite significant as there's barely any Bitcoin coming out of the machine anymore. But yeah, this equates to an enormous amount of Bitcoin just with BlackRock, $149 million. According to SEC filings, Boothbay is also holding 1.7 million shares of Fidelity's Bitcoin ETF. Currently over $105 million worth of Bitcoin. They have 1.1 million shares worth of Grayscale's Bitcoin ETF. They're holding $69 million with Grayscale, and they are holding currently $50 million with Bitwise's Bitcoin ETFs. So there's not really much more that I can say that you probably already know. These accumulation rates are quite staggering, and I still find it very, very weird. No, it's not a little weird. I find it very weird that people are so blasé or passé about anything that's happening within the market right now, what's happening with the level of accumulation. And even from people who've been here for a while, it's this very like, okay, whatever. If you've been in this market for a while and this doesn't excite you, hearing that all this Bitcoin is being bought up, I'm still and always will be an advocate that I want normal people to hold the majority of all the Bitcoin. But all this activity will eventually what's the word that I'm looking for? This is what gets us to a $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 Bitcoin. When there's barely any Bitcoin left as is, and we hear this accumulation is happening daily, these people, those who hold Bitcoin, will be the richest people on the planet just by simple logic alone. It's not me doing any special guessing. Yeah. Company by the name of Boothbay is currently holding, there's not an accumulation number anywhere. Let's see, that's 250, 473, it's like 300 and, no, that's also incorrect. Also the Bitwise one. It's around 400 and something million dollars worth of Bitcoin. So, but we also had news, when we had news that the ETF issuers were holding 100,000 Bitcoin, people were like, when we got to 500,000, people kind of cared. And we know that the ETF issuers or holders or whatever are holding over 1 million plus Bitcoin, and no one seems to really care. So when there's no Bitcoin left, just remember these videos. I mean, not much more else we can do. I do hope that you all enjoyed. I do hope that you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.